Chess is a very complex game, and the variety of pieces in your 16-piece army easily leaves room for doubt in your mind. But fear not, for I have objectively compiled the 6 different piece types into their own tiers for your own amusement. First up in S tier is the pawn. Now, the pawn is an excellent piece of social commentary about this society that we live in. Seeing as they make the bulk of the army, we can assume that pawns are made up of common, everyday, ordinary peasants. According to Merriam-Webster.com, a pawn is one that can be used to further the purpose of another. At the beginning of the battle, pawns completely barricade the people in the back, those being people of higher authority. The pawn's only choice is to move forward in accordance with what the higher authorities wish. They are not allowed to have any freedom in their movement because of their low status. While pawns can promote into those very people of authority, it involves them risking their lives and crossing into enemy territory. They must risk death to advance. Most pawns don't even see the light of day for that anyways. It shows us that us common, everyday, ordinary people have little opportunity to promote and advance their lives safely. The pawn, therefore, is decisive proof to show that we do indeed live in a society. Below them is the knight. Now, the most common way to explain the knight's movement pattern is that it moves in an L, precisely delivering what the player wishes upon their enemy. Therefore, it is excellent for big brain taunts. I'd wager the opponent would be completely unaware of its subliminal messaging. Below them is the rook. Due to their nature, rooks never see the beginnings of battle because they hide in their shells. They are simply cowards, but it proves the phrase, discretion is the better part of valor. However, it's a moving castle tower, and that makes it a terrifying sight for your foe. Admittedly, the effect is mitigated if your foe also has access to a moving castle tower, but it's still a frightening sight nonetheless. Topping the top of the bottom half is the bishop. Bishops are interesting. White squared bishops only ever traverse on white tiles, while black square bishops only ever traverse on black tiles. They do nothing to challenge this forced separatist narrative and serve to reinforce and propagate racist attitudes. This is shown even when pawns decide to become bishops. Though throughout their former lives, they did not care much about the color of their tile. After becoming a bishop, they solemnly swear to only ever travel upon the colored tiles they last landed on. This racist behavior fits with the title bishop, authorities of a religion that punish people for living a way that is unacceptable according to said religion. Bishops simply cannot fathom the possibility that their unwillingness to challenge the system actually ends up hurting everyone. They limit their viewpoints to that color and care not about experiences, thoughts, opinions, wisdom, etc. of the other color. At D tier is the queen. Let me preface by claiming that chess has a very funny sense of humor. The queen is a very flexible piece, but their flexible nature is their very downfall. One hit and they're dead, in spite of the possibilities they bring to the table. Why create such a piece that is so vulnerable, yet so necessary to establish an advantage? It feels very counterintuitive. When the queen is in danger, best believe the entire army develops a simp mentality for the queen, save the king. Admittedly, this mentality is more or less a choice, though it is heavily encouraged. However, this tactic of protecting the queen, no matter the danger, may endanger many others in the army. One simple oversight sends potential needless sacrifices of many other lives to keep the queen safe from harm. And if the queen dies, you lose so much utility and control, which is a terrible thing if your opponent still retains their queen. I ask, why are queen trades so popular? And I thus answer, because that's the only reasonable exchange to take for the majority of cases. So if a pattern of queen takes piece, queen takes queen, and piece takes queen is so common, it just becomes very pointless for the queen to even exist. In conclusion, an overrated piece that nevertheless puts you at a disadvantage if you lose her. Finally, the worst chess piece is the king. Let's think about the circumstances for a moment. Two armies are battling each other, all being overseen by their respective king. The king cannot die. Because of this, it's logical to conclude that the kings are the ones in power. Now, the king is only concerned for their survival. Its implementation into the game's mechanics makes it quite blatant. They provide little hope to their army, which, quite frankly, is a toxic attitude to bring to these battles. Why appear when you do so little? Kings are not one for battle. Should the battlefield ever consist of two lone kings battling each other, then it'll end in a stalemate. Their mindset of protecting themselves at the cost of others is clearly visible even when they castle, whereby the king encloses himself in a corner while sending a rook out into action. The insistence of these two opposing kings to battle each other at the cost of their subjects' lives leaves little room for diplomacy and negotiation. They are the reason that violence exists in this world, since they offer no alternative to resolving disputes. They place so much emphasis and importance on themselves that they are blind to the reality unfolding before them. My fellow pawns, I have faith that you will start a revolution, and in that revolution out the oppressive authorities who so needlessly endanger you. And I hope after the revolution has occurred that you find mutual cooperation is the key to the future. In doing so, perhaps we will no longer live in a society. In conclusion, chess is a game that supports monarchist ambitions and attitudes, but even in spite of this, we find hope for a brand new, peaceful, inclusive, and cooperative world.